How do you build cultures where the teams and people that you're working with, you're brought in to help be more efficient, effective, scalable, where they feel safe and empowered to bring their unique talents into everything that they're doing?
Mm, yeah, it's a really great question, Michael. And I've thought a lot about it. There is a critical path first step to providing clarity and safety to employees, vertically and horizontally in the org chart. And that first step is whoever is at the top, whoever the head of the org is. That could be CEO, it could be founder, president. They must be clear about what the safety and empowerment is and looks like. And they must be motivated to go all in for the business to make it happen. I'm reminded of Jeff Weiner, ex-CEO at LinkedIn. I heard him say probably 8 or 10 years ago, which still sticks to me this day. His job as the leader in that org, as the CEO, is to be the chief reminder officer, which I just love. And then he goes on to say, my primary role is to constantly remind everybody and myself about where we're going and how we're going to get there. And I won't spend too much more time on it, but he even unpacks it further and talks about he has to constantly remind the company about what they value. And so that's the first thing. First step is that decision has to be made at the top. From there, it's just all about architecture. I call it P3, people, process, and performance, in that order. And so once you decide we want a safe place for people, we want high happiness, low stress, and high productivity, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to architect for the people in a way that demonstrates our care for them. And so we're going to make sure that you have employee handbooks that answer all of your questions and manage all of your expectations in a published fashion. We're going to have core values that are not just sayings on the wall, but permeate into all of the functions in the business, into all of the breakout teams, into everything we do. We're going to live by these core values. We're going to actually, as a business, create and constantly update our career path strategy. So when you show up as an employee, you have a path to growth in title and pay. If you want it, we will support it, and we will uphold that and maintain it. Other empowerment and safety, I think, going back to the core values thing, part of safety in an org, in my opinion, for employees is the human side. It's like the human side of stuff, like protecting people from being blamed, protecting people from being gossiped about, protecting the business and the people from a culture of lying. These parts, I think, also I would contend should be upheld by the leadership and guard employees from drive-by guiltings and drive-by shootings in these facets. Another way to create great safety and empowerment for people is razor sharp, clear job descriptions that also, at the end of the activities from that job description, define what success looks like. So people know where they stand, and they know what a mark of success looks like on the daily, on the weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually. And then probably one other thing I'd mention, and there are many, but I think this is really important, is employee surveys, and doing that on the regular. There's different opinions about the best play here, but I'm a big fan of anonymous surveys. not because you're fearful that people don't have the freedom to say their name or say who they are, but I think when you can just have the total freedom to say how you feel and not have to disclose your name, or your title, then the truth comes out. And then having leadership that receive this information and will act on it to iterate towards better health, etc. So these are some things that I would recommend in terms of how to create safety and empowerment in people.
How long is the feedback cycle typically as you're making these changes from you come in or the leadership announces, we're going to do this, like all the things you just talked about, which are big, like huge, life,
Yes,
business changing shifts,
they are.
and the employees are likely saying, uh-huh, yep, it's been about 6 months, time for another of these.
Right. Or they're going, yeah, sure. Been there, done that, seen it, never worked.
Right. So what's the typically the feedback cycle for you from when all this starts and then when people start seeing, oh my gosh, it's actually changing this time?
Yeah. Well, that varies surely in direct proportion to the nature of the engagement. Lots of different levels and investments to get there. But if I were just to assign a mean, I'd say 6 months to look back and see significant transformation in these areas. That said, what I always try to do is remind along the journey and highlight and campaign and market the wins and the proof of positive change. And to do that, obviously, integrated into leadership, but then also I ask the heads to ask their leaders to pass along the same campaign metrics to the people they're leading as well. So you begin this sort of snowball effect of the micro changes along the way as they build up to that 6-month mark, for example. That way people are mindful of the changes that they're experiencing and seeing.
And do you do anything to proactively bring along all the doubters and naysayers? Or do you focus on the people who are engaged right from the start? They love the change or they love the vision, and help them and let the other people come along as they start seeing the benefits?
Yeah, there have been a few times in the executive sessions where you have, naysayers. And I try to not get involved in those politics. What I do is I'll just keep note and keep it on my radar. If I see that perhaps you have, people that are challenging or in disagreement or, whatever it is they're facing, and then I'll go to whoever hired me, and typically it's somebody at the head, and just say, hey, here's a potential risk call out. There may be an opportunity to kind of have a one-on-one and figure out where that's coming from. But that's what I'm seeing. Of course, you should validate that. But I haven't seen it to the degree where I need to kind of step up and start having those conversations. I think it's happened a few times at max.
As you are introducing these changes and then as they progress,
Yeah.
how much are you focusing on all the signals that you talked about initially of safety and joy and things like that? And how much are you focusing on or highlighting the shifts in all the typical business metrics of revenue, call volume, whatever the metrics are that business is caring about?
Yeah, really great question. So the signals early on I pay attention to are first just confirmation and validation from the business leaders that the C-suite nominate to participate in the transformation. And look to get a consensus across the board that, hey, these are the problems and challenges we're looking to solve and transform. From then, I like to validate those through survey to the rest of the company and see if there is alignment, so that survey is built based on the problems and challenges the leadership has diagnosed. And then I seek to validate those. I like the word signal, by the way, through surveying that is in line with those, and see if the people come back and validate. If they don't, then we circle back to leadership and say, all right, here's the feedback we're getting. It seems that there's some disagreement here, what have you. So we quickly iterate there to finalize the problems and the opportunities. And then, a couple of outcomes I typically like to focus on is gross profit, because, historically people hire me. So this is interesting, Michael. Most business owners and leaders don't want to solve culture problems just for the sake of solving culture problems. This is what I found, which surprised me, because I was the opposite. I was like just crazy allergic to bad culture and chaos. And so my motivation was just to solve those irrespective of what they did to revenue and to sales. But what I found is most businesses, they're struggling to scale. Their gross profits are down. They have, they're losing people. Their customers are being affected. So they want to solve the problems. So my whole point there was, typically they're struggling with revenue. Their revenue's gone down, and they're struggling with CSATs. Their CSATs have gone down. And so those are two big markers that I'll go after in terms of signals of success. Did the gross profit go up because we went in and found a bunch of inefficiency and waste? We optimized that inefficiency and waste, and now you're faster, you're leaner, and your cogs are less. And those, and so typically when you solve those, costs go down, profit goes up, and because you have now better control around your outcomes, specifically in product or service, and they're probably being delivered faster too, your CSAT start going up. So those are the two signals I look for the business outcomes. And then culturally, two things. I'll go back to the survey. So I'm a big fan of these anonymous surveys because people tell the truth, because they don't have to worry about identifying. And then the other is I like to get in and do skip levels. So to the degree that the business thinks it's okay with them for me personally to go in and participate, I'll just do some Q&A and just kind of really matter of fact, unemotionally attached, start popping around and getting the lay of the land and seeing what people are actually saying if they're willing to share. So there's two business outcome signals I like to focus on, and then those two internal cultural signals I like to focus on.